You think you're lazy, you're not. You think you need more willpower, you don't. In fact, the real reason you can't get started on work right now is something happening inside your brain that literally feels like someone's holding you back, and almost nobody talks about it. If you've ever sat down to do something important, felt this weird mental resistance that has nothing to do with actual difficulty, and then somehow ended up scrolling instead, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's not a motivation problem, that's a trap. Here's the thing that most productivity advice gets wrong. We're obsessed with time management and discipline. But the real issue isn't managing your time. It's understanding what your brain is actually doing during those moments when you want to work but can't seem to start. And there's actual neuroscience explaining why this happens. Imagine you're sitting down at 9 a.m. with the intention to work on something meaningful. You've cleared your schedule. You have coffee. Everything should be perfect, but then you feel this weight, this mental heaviness. Not laziness exactly. It's more like your brain is actively resisting the transition. Studies show that 73% of people experience this exact phenomenon multiple times per day, and most of them have no idea what's causing it. The brain trap I'm talking about is something neuroscientists call task initiation resistance. It's not about motivation at all. It's about a specific glitch in how your prefrontal cortex handles transitions between different states of mental engagement. Here's how it actually works. Your brain is incredibly efficient, maybe too efficient. It has something called inertia in your neural pathways. Essentially, whatever your brain is doing right now, whether it's resting, scrolling, or thinking about something else, it wants to keep doing that because it requires less metabolic energy. Changing directions is expensive for your brain, not metaphorically expensive, actually expensive in terms of glucose and neurotransmitter usage. But here's where it gets interesting. This inertia isn't a random problem. It's actually a feature, not a bug. Your brain developed this pattern to conserve energy when resources were limited. Back when humans were hunters, this mechanism saved lives because it meant your brain didn't waste energy on constant task switching. It was an evolutionary advantage. The problem is that your modern environment throws hundreds of competing demands at you, and this ancient mechanism now works against you. It makes that first 90 seconds of starting a task feel impossibly hard, even when you absolutely know what you need to do and you want to do it. Now, here's the second layer most people miss. It's not just about neural inertia. There's also something called the activation energy threshold. Psychologically, every task requires a certain minimum amount of mental activation to get started. And here's what nobody tells you. The size of the task doesn't matter nearly as much as the clarity of the first step. A vague idea of work feels like climbing a mountain. A clear, specific first action feels manageable. But wait, there's more to this. Your brain is also playing another trick on you. It's called anticipated regret. Your brain is literally predicting that the work you're about to start will be harder, more boring, or more difficult than it actually is. Neuroscience research shows that humans consistently overestimate how negative future experiences will feel. So, before you even start, your brain has already convinced itself that this task is worse than it probably is. That mental prediction becomes a barrier, and that barrier feels like resistance. And this is where most people get it completely wrong. They think the solution is to push harder, to force more willpower, to be more disciplined. But you're trying to willpower your way past a neurological process. You're using the wrong tool. It's like trying to open a door by pushing when you're supposed to pull. You can push as hard as you want, but nothing changes because you're working against how your brain actually operates. The psychological layer here is almost uncomfortable to talk about, because once you understand this trap, you realize how much of your unproductivity isn't about you being weak or lazy. It's about your brain working exactly as designed, just in the wrong context. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop fighting the brain and start working with it, everything changes. So here's what actually works. 3 specific things you can implement starting today. First, you need to destroy the vagueness, not work on the project. Instead, the first step has to be so absurdly specific that your brain can't find resistance. Not start writing. Instead, open the document and write the title. This works because specificity reduces activation energy. Your brain has less computational load figuring out what to do, so the resistance disappears. The more micro you can make that first step, the easier it becomes to start. Try this right now with something you've been avoiding. Break it into the tiniest possible first action. You'll feel the difference immediately. Second, you have to use what I call the momentum hack. Don't commit to 2 hours of work. Commit to just the first 5 minutes. This is crucial because your brain's resistance is strongest at the initiation point, but it's weakest once you've started. There's this psychological principle called progress inertia. The same inertia that made starting hard works in your favor once you're going. After 5 minutes, you're not pushing anymore. The task itself has momentum. Tell yourself you only have to do 5 minutes. Actually start. Odds are you'll keep going because the hardest part is already over. Third, and this contradicts everything you've heard about productivity, you need to remove the decision about when to start. Don't think about it. Don't wait for motivation. Don't look for the perfect time. Instead, build a trigger moment into your day. At 9:15 a.m., you sit down. At 2 p.m., you start the next focus block. Removing the decision removes an entire layer of mental resistance. Your brain doesn't have to evaluate whether you feel like starting. It's not a choice. It's a given. This sounds simple, but it eliminates something like 40% of the psychological friction people experience. The real breakthrough here is understanding that unproductivity isn't a character flaw. It's your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do, in an environment where that strategy doesn't serve you anymore. The moment you stop blaming yourself and start working with your neurology instead of against it, everything shifts. So, here's my question for you. Which part of your brain trap is catching you the most right now? Is it the vagueness that makes starting feel impossible? Is it that resistance that hits before you begin? Or is it waiting for the perfect motivation that never arrives? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what stops you. And if this actually helped you understand your brain a little better, subscribe. We're breaking down the weird ways your mind sabotages you every single week. Next video, we're talking about why you're more productive when things go wrong. Yeah, you heard that right. And trust me, it's counterintuitive.